What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. We've got a lot of basketball to talk about right now. It is NBA Finals week. We got the Thunder making the finals for the first time since 2012, trying to cap off what's been a historic season, squaring up against the Pacers, who've been on kind of this wild historic run coming out of the East. But there's a lot going on with the Suns, even though they haven't played in a few months at this point. More than just talking about KD, as the rumors continue to swirl about where he could possibly go. Apparently now the Knicks are getting into the mix, want to move Cat, and maybe that would make it happen. And also maybe going up to Toronto and pairing up with Giannis Antetokounmpo in what would be a wild shakeup in the East, having those two guys on one team and kind of reworking everything. But that's not where we got to talk. That's not where we got to start or anything. We have got to start with this coaching search right now going on with Phoenix. It is June 2nd, and we still do not have the head coach in place yet for the Suns. Now, they've been whittling it down, and they're down to their final two, and I'm about to lose my mind with the way this is shaping up right now. They had a list of pretty good candidates, pretty great qualified guys, and they've whittled it down to just two guys now, and two of them interesting names for very different reasons. You got Johnny Bryant and Jordan Ott as the last two guys that are the finalists. Coincidentally, both of them are right now working at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, what makes this interesting is these are two guys that are on polar opposite ends of qualifications. All right. Ott has been on the coaching staff for the Hawks for 3 years. He was on the Brooklyn Nets for like 6 years. He was on the Lakers for a couple of years. And he's been on Utah as an assistant. He's been with the Knicks as an assistant. The guy's been around the league while still being a younger man and has a lot of experience, has a great track record, a great resume, has all the pieces of being a guy that looks like a quality hire for that position. Now, I'm not saying Bryant can't be, but I'm saying he hasn't shown it. This guy played in college at Utah for 3 years. Then he was a video coordinator and kind of an assistant and doesn't really kind of have the same background. But what does he have? A guy that has been a sleeper pick through this entire process when the original 15 or so names were kind of being tossed around. A guy that no one really expected to make it through a few rounds, and yet he just kept hanging around, making the next cut. And everyone's like, what's going on? Something about it. Oh, that's right. He went to Michigan State as a video coordinator. And if you are a Sparty, there is nothing that Matt Ishbia likes more than hiring guys from his alma mater. And this guy does not have the same qualifications. He does not have any reason to have made it past the last 3 rounds, and yet he is now one of two guys left standing at a chance at being the head coach in what would be the most ridiculous hire and make this franchise into just a laughingstock if this is what ends up happening. Because how many times are you going to keep going back to this well and just make it the Phoenix Spartans at this point? Because that's all he is doing. Ishbia is going back and hiring his lumps, and you saw with the GM, you see it now with potentially with the coach. I'm all for like supporting your own, but are we going to act like this was, if this guy gets a job, that it was an honest hiring process? Like, why'd you waste your time with all of this? And there were so many other names that were qualified that really should have been in the mix towards the end. Chris Quinn at Miami was a big name that people had tossed around that they were like, I have always been a fan of Dave Fizdale. I thought what he had done in his resume was great, and he was a guy that the team seemed to like, and he was right there. He's very familiar with the franchise. Oklahoma City's had an incredible run. Dave Bliss was on the list of names that they were looking at. So there was a few guys out there, a few names that were interested that had been doing the interview process with over 15 guys to initiate and kind of start this whole process off. And now we're getting towards the end, and one of the guys left standing is pretty much unknown. And, what are we going to say about this? Brian Gregory gets the job as the GM. Obviously, he's got his Spartan ties after they make moves there. And it's like, I don't think you can be taken seriously as a team, as a franchise in this league, if the moves you are doing are just hiring your homeboys, which is what this feels like. If you're just going in your circle and being like guys that are from your one school and be like, nah, like this is the way that we're going to do it. That's just not a good look. This isn't a summer internship. All right. It's one thing to do that. There's one thing for a little nepotism for just get this guy a desk job and get him on payroll and get something on his resume to help him kickstart his career. It's a lot different when it's the GM of your franchise, when it's the head coach of your franchise. And I understand it's Ishbia's money and it's his team, but if you're a fan and you're watching this, it's got to drive you crazy. Crazy. I'm not doubting that Ishbia wants to win. I know he wants to win. And I know he's willing to spend money to try and make that happen. But this guy has a absolute blind spot when it comes to hiring people, getting the right people in place. He can't help himself but to inject himself in these situations and meddle with it. And it comes down to, like, I'm just going to go with guys from my school and, like, what kind of fraternity that he's trying to create here. It is tough to watch. Now, it's not done yet, If he decides at the end of all this to go with Ott, it's a moot point. That's a guy that a lot of people, I think, would be pretty excited about. Now, the future still, like, this is just one piece to the massive puzzle of the offseason because there's still the KD piece. There's still a lot left as far as what they need to do this offseason and reshaping kind of the roster and figuring out what they're going to do. They're still stuck with Bradley Beal. There's a million other problems in this team, but hiring a guy because of his connections to your school, or at least that being a huge part of the narrative, that is not a good look. That is not a great look. And I get it. Johnny still has experience in this league. Like, I guess I probably undersold it to a point. He does have 10 years, as an assistant. At 6 of those years were as an assistant. Then he did have some years on the bench with the Knicks and with the Cavs. But it's not close in comparison. It's not close in accomplishments. Now, maybe I got it all wrong. Maybe Johnny has the single greatest interview tactic of all time. Maybe this guy, when you talk to him, you just get wowed and you're like, you know what? I was wrong. That's got to be the guy. There's been coaches before that have done that have gotten in spots. Mark Dagnall didn't have a crazy resume before he got the Thunder head coaching job, and that's worked out pretty well. There's just I can't say it's coincidental if you hire him, and I'm not going to buy it unless he I'm not going to buy anything that he says that had nothing to do with his decision. Ishbia is going to have to come out and be like, yeah, I got him because he went to Michigan State, and I trust guys from there, and I want to build this program like that. I want to build this team like that program. And unless he embraces it, at which point you're undercutting your coach because you're telling the world he maybe wasn't qualified, but he was just your guy. There's very few times that has ever worked. Miami was one of them. Pat Riley backs his coach, and Spoelstra ends up being a great hire. And there was talks about LeBron wanting him to move, but that was just his guy. It wasn't like he went to his school. This just feels like you're handing the keys to the franchise to a kid because his resume fit. And again, if you want to do that nepotism thing, get a summer internship guy, get a desk job guy, get somebody on payroll that's nice, pat him on the back, let him get something on their resume, cool, and then send them out and let them have an opportunity. What are we doing, though? If it's the head coach, it was already the GM, and it wasn't like James Jones was doing a horrible job. I don't love the Bradley Beal thing, but a lot of that was not on him, people believe. Like, and Ishbia wanted to back the bus up and say, like, I don't make those decisions, but everybody knows that decision does not happen without Ishbia saying for it to happen. That trade doesn't. And I think most people think that wasn't him wanting it to happen. It was Ishbia wanting to go out and get another big name and make a splash in what's turned into one of the worst trades in the league. And it's hamstrung this franchise for years to come. It is tough to watch right now. Now, again, it's a moot point. If he goes one direction here, if he ends up going and deciding that he wants to hire Ott, then that it's a moot point. And, you know, maybe he was just trying to help Brian move him along, get the name out there and stuff. So now other people will be interested in him, kind of boost his career. Maybe he really is a great interview. But I don't buy it. And now we just continue with this charade as we wait to see what happens. It's just not a good look. It's not a good look for the franchise.